How you feeling?
I feel great. It's the shows have been amazing, and just traveling on the bus is so different from being on the airplane.
Okay.
It's a lot more restful. But I still come into the cities and I get in my hotel room and I'm like, I'm just knocked
still
out.
knocked
So
out?
it's a different type of rest
Okay.
on the bus, but it is definitely better than the plane, and it gives you more options when you're on the bus and you get to stop and you see more.
Yeah,
See
I
more.
mean, it's snowing, unfortunately,
Yeah.
today in Chicago.
Which is beautiful, but see, Chicago, y'all not afraid of this. You're like, no.
And I live in Chicago, so,
See, people are still out. I'm from D.C. originally.
Oh,
If this
so-
was in D.C., the whole city would be shut down
Oh,
right
really?
now. Absolutely.
I thought they were a little used to, no?
No, and our snow might be a little different too. It may be a little wetter, if you
Okay.
will. So it seems to be more dangerous for driving.
You guys
and
don't have
a lot more
salt
black.
trucks? Or
We do, but they don't put them out with
No?
the same type of aggressiveness and
Yeah.
vigor to get it done, because you never know if it's going to really hit.
Yeah.
So they're like, we don't want to mess up our roads either. So it gets kind of sketchy there.
Well, being born, you were born in D.C.?
Yes.
Raised in D.C.? And I heard that you come from now, do you come from a gospel background, or was that just an
No,
influence?
I don't come from
Okay,
a gospel
you don't.
background.
Okay.
What I came from a background where my family, we attended church, every so often. My gospel background began as a teenager.
Okay.
See, when I think of people coming from a gospel background, I think of them coming up from little toddlers and all they know is church, church, church. But I didn't grow up that way. As a teenager, I heard somebody teach the gospel for the first time and was like, whoa, that's what the Bible is talking about. Prior to that, I'd had some really great experiences that I don't discount at all. I think that kind of set me on the path. And at 8, I remember going to a Bible camp and learning my first Bible scripture and things like that. But at the same time, knowing for myself what I believe, accepting the word for what it was, happened as a teenager.
Okay, and so you were singing though in the church choir, right?
When I was a teenager.
Yeah, and then
other than that, it was R&B,
Right.
classical. I grew up classically trained and then singing the American Songbook to train for voice.
Okay,
So
nice.
I was on a whole path, prior to, and then when I came into the church and accepted Jesus really as my Lord and Savior, it was like, I'm singing gospel now. What is that? I didn't know that much gospel.
Mm-hmm.
I had heard Change. I think that was the only gospel song I knew was A Change by the Hawkins family. And but then I started listening and realizing how powerful music is and how I needed a time period where I did not sing R&B for like a number of years, and I began to listen to, it was the Clark sisters and Daryl Coley at the time. They were my absolute favorites, and Yolanda Adams, and let that music just pour into my spirit
Really?
in that time period. Yeah, it was funny. I really wanted to be like BB and CeCe Winans when my career started, though.
Were you? Now I know you were in a group, right? So
I was in several groups and things, because coming from that background of R&B, what happened was I wanted to be like BB and CeCe Winans once I, again, had my experience as a teenager.
okay.
And I wanted to inspire people with music, and I started writing songs, and people were like, it was okay. I mean, they were okay songs, but I was a kid, that we were just building, but my opportunities never came in gospel. It would always come from somebody wanting to market me R&B. So I started talking to the pastors that I was working with. And it was one pastor, Shirley Nicholson from Abundant Life. I will never forget it. My favorite. And she said, you know what, you should, she said, I'm not going to discourage you, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a charge, which was so much better for me. And this is how I raised my son too, to make him a thinker, make him a decision maker, and teach him to pray about discernment. And she said, lift up a standard when you go. And if you go and you lift up a standard, in addition to that, listen to as much gospel music as you're pouring R&B into your life. And I was like, okay, well, I think I can do that. And I think that is what kept me on path, just having great people around me, holding me accountable, really.
Okay. And so you then just went full-fledged into R&B.
Kind of. Yeah, kind of. I did because
did,
I fought. It was really difficult. I don't even talk about this part as much, but when I got into the band, it was a band called Mannequin.
Right.
We signed a deal with Epic Records, and I was still very much different from them. And it caused a lot of confusion. I knew that I wasn't supposed to join that band. I wasn't. And it wasn't a problem singing the music. It wasn't even about that anymore. God was really teaching me to hear his voice. And the one thing he said was, you can do the deal with them, but don't join the band. Now, let me tell you, I wasn't a person that would be like, oh yeah, God said this, God said that. I wasn't that guy. But it was one of those early times where I was like, wait a minute, is that the Lord speaking to me? And no one had asked me to join a band.
No.
So about 2 weeks later, there it came. You need to join the band. It didn't even come at me like, hey, would you like to join the band? It was like, you need to join the band so that we can do this deal. And I was like, wow. And then I was like, okay, Lord, what does this mean? Then I compromised completely and was like, well, I'm here now. Was that really you? That's when you go back and you start going, was it really you?
Right.
And it was like, of course it was me. I told you 2 weeks in advance that it was going to happen.
Right.
And I was like, oh, wow. I have no regrets, though, and I don't want to say it like I didn't gain from being in the band and all of that. But it became one of the most difficult times in my life. And the manager could tell you, she was wonderful to me. And she was like a big sister to me through the process. But I fought back and forth. I didn't even want to say baby in a song.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, I was under a contract to sing.
For how long?
It was just one album.
Okay.
But then I was under a management contract as well that was like 5 years.
Oh, God.
And I was arrogant about it. I was arrogant with my youth. I was. And I thought, well, I'll be 25 or 20 whatever once this is over if I've made a mistake.
Right.
And I made a mistake.
Dang. But you learned from it, right?
I learned from it. So the mistake was not, again, being with the band or the experience itself. I just was not supposed to sign to be a member of that band. I was supposed to remain separated, and I didn't. But and that, in the end, that was my learning experience, and me coming to a point where I understood hearing God's voice in my life. Because for different people, it's different things. Sometimes it's listening and stopping, and really trusting that time period, the process. So when the record came out, everything was fine. I got a chance to work with Charlie Wilson, really Ronnie and Charlie Wilson, but Charlie Wilson being the more famous brother now, people know. So he's like really my Uncle Charlie.
Yeah.
We go way, way back.
Yeah.
But once all of that took place, I came out of the industry for a while. I was hurt just on a lot of different levels, and I just did youth ministry, honestly, for about 2 years. I didn't really sing as much. I did do some songwriting with a couple other brothers and did some other record deals, but I began to be Kenny Lattimore. I began to establish who I was, and I was able to write every lyric or prove every lyric. So it was closer to what God told me to do, but it still wasn't 100%.
But then you did when Never Too Busy came out.
When Never Too Busy came out, this is what happened to me. I told the Lord, I said, I'm tired. I made a mistake on some other things, and I don't want to do this anymore. And when you're in the music industry and you're called to music, it doesn't go away. And maybe that's with any business. I don't know. Maybe in any career.
For me too. Yeah.
And it wouldn't go away. And I was just like, okay, Lord, I don't know what this is about this music thing, but I will do it one more time, God. And I will do it as a solo artist. I mean, I took a lot of hits and a lot of criticism when I was in the band, telling them I'm supposed to be solo, because to a lot of people that sounded arrogant.
Okay.
For whatever reason, because, and it could have been just that other people have other agendas. And if I have an agenda and I think that you're going to be good for me, and you tell me that you want to be by yourself, I'm gonna be angry at that anyway. So what happens is, I could not explain myself well. I'm young. I'm trying to articulate spiritual things to people who aren't all spiritual. I'm trying to articulate who I am. I'm growing up as a man. My mother had just died. That's another whole story in the process of me making that first album. But what ended up happening was I said, Lord, I'll do it as a solo artist, and if this is not what you have for me, I don't want to do this anymore. And the Lord said, go to New York, your producer's there. So this time,
So you went from DC to New York?
to New York,
Wow.
and this time I told everybody. I said, "The Lord said blah 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 to me." This is the second time I really, that I felt I heard His voice. There were other times that I really felt I heard the Lord's voice, but this is the first time I ever said it out loud. And I told people, and I said, "If it doesn't come to pass 100%, I will come back and I will apologize to you," because the church sent me off with money and
Oh, wow,
support
they
and all of that.
supported you, yeah.
And so when I went, some people said, "Oh, you'll be back." And I said, "Okay, well, if I come back, then I will be the first person to apologize. I'm going to have to return the money and everything, because this has to come to pass 100% or it wasn't God."
So when you left, how long did it take for everything to just propel?
About a year.
Really?
Literally.
That's
It was
not
like a literally
long.
year. And it felt long, though.
I know, I can imagine.
It was a start. I left in January to start the new year.
Okay.
And I did not record. I didn't do anything for the first 7 months. It was almost like
wow.
an exploration again, and a spiritual journey where God was stripping people from my life. He was changing relationships out, all of that. And once all of that was settled, around the 8th month, it was August, I met the producer.
Finally.
And we started working, and we had a deal in about 2 months. It was like by the 10th month, it was complete.
Wow.
And I was like going to see Mariah Carey, getting ready to, because I was at Columbia Records. She was about to do her Christmas album, and I was invited to that. And I was up at Sony doing meetings with people and all. And not to belabor all of the details, but it was a very amazing and interesting experience.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when I first heard actually Never Too Busy. Like I was on my way to Great America. I was in high school.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
in high school.
Hey.
But
Love
I was like, who is this voice?
Wow.
Yes.
Thank you.
And I've been a very long time supporter of your music.
Thank you.
I love your voice, and I can always spot it. Like it's like, is that
Thank you.
Kenny?
Thank you.
But the thing that I didn't know is that one of your, or actually I think two of your songs was sampled by Kanye.
Oh, yeah. Interesting enough, he was just starting his production career.
Okay.
And those two songs he did remixes for, because at that time period you did dance remixes, you did house remixes, all of that, so that the songs would expand past regular R&B radio.
Okay.
So the A&R director, if I'm not mistaken, I guess Kanye will have to let me know. And I'm not really friends with him.
Oh, so you didn't even know.
But what happened was, we hired him, and they still would come to me and they say, "What do you think about this person? What do you think about their music or whatever they did for you?" And so he did remixes for me and achieved his first recording credits.
Oh, off of those songs?
Off of those songs. And I didn't even know that for a long time until he sampled. He did sample one of my songs for my second album for his Yeezus project.
Yeah.
And I started getting phone calls from people, and I didn't know what they were talking about. I was like, what are you talking about? Kenny Lattimore, Kanye West? I was like, I don't, what do you mean? I mean, because that was when he did Never Too Busy, was years and years ago.
Right.
So they were like, no, he just used one of your songs in his latest album. And I was like, oh, wow. And the A&R director from back that signed me called me up, and he said, well, that's befitting because you actually gave him his first credits. And I was like, really? That's what was happening? I used to see that K West, but from the years, I just didn't remember that it was the same K West.
So you don't get any royalties or anything from that? Because he...
No, I did. Absolutely.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I was like, thank you, brother. Thank you so
thank you for
much.
using
Absolutely.
my
You're right.
song.
It was quite an honor, not only because he was using... just the association with him from a creative standpoint,
Exactly.
I thought was amazing. And as a result, I was totally blessed during that time period and received a lot more accolades and attention when I was kind of in a period of, I can't even remember if I hadn't put out Anatomy of a Love Song. I was just about to put out Anatomy of a Love Song, and it was almost like a nice boost before that record came.
Do you ever use some of your songs as, I mean, because there's times that I use your music as if I'm going through a breakup, or if I want to get over a breakup, or, just enjoying life, whatever it is. Do you ever listen to your music as those ways to give you some inspiration or motivation?
Yeah, but probably more seldom than not. But there's but music in general, yes. I probably use everybody else's music but mine.
Like, who are some of your top that you would use?
Old school. I grew up listening to my parents' music.
Okay.
So I like listening to Stevie Wonder and Shaka Khan and Aretha Franklin, Denise Williams, people like that.
Okay.
And then to be on tour with Valerie Simpson. Oh man, this is like, with my mom not living, she never got a chance to see and experience all of the things that my success. What's been interesting is it's almost like I'm fulfilling a dream that she had, because most of the artists that I perform with are not even from my generation.
I know.
They're mostly from my parents' generation, so I'm super honored.
So it's always like your mom is there, because I know, you know what I mean? Because if anything were to happen to my mom, I hope not.
Oh yeah, no.
But I know she loves Tina Marie or some of the artists that, like, I got to introduce her to Kim. She loves Kim, and he's not even old school. He's
right.
Newer
He's
school,
newer.
but,
But it appeals. His music appeals to such a broad range.
Have you guys worked together at all?
No, we've never worked together.
Good.
Yeah, I think I've done one
collab.
Show with him. That's about it, though.
Okay, but you guys haven't collabed on any songs or anything?
No, not yet. I'll say yet, because it's interesting. My career has been such that when I think, and this is me just analyzing, I really don't know, maybe God will give me an epiphany while I'm talking to you.
Okay. I hope so. Come on.
Come on, Lord.
Come on, Lord.
When I did the duet albums with Shantae Moore, and I started to really use our marriage as ministry and all that with her, I think that the brand became so strong that when that was over, it was difficult for both of us really to transition back into being solo artists. Although we had been successful solo artists prior to for years,
I know.
It was just that transition. So I feel like for me, the industry has not fully accepted me as a solo artist as a result.
Yeah. I mean, you were always a solo artist, but you being married, do you kind of, I don't want to say regret, but think that maybe you should have just kept that path instead of, because now everybody's looking at you, the way you packaged it so well and so hard and promote you. And
it's interesting because, like, we didn't even want to do our second CD because I think we kind of knew that it was going to be overkill to us to do it. But in the end, no regrets at all. I think that what was beautiful about the experience, even with its dissipation, is I learned so much that the depth that I have as an artist and as a man right now, I wouldn't be the man that I am having not gone through that experience. And the recording actually, I think, kept us together more than anything else. Being on the road together and all that, being recording artists, our family was tighter because of that. If we had not been recording together, I'm not really sure how long we would have really lasted.
Yeah, because I was kind of crushed one time you guys came to Chicago and you were together, and I was like, oh my God, I would love to get them together because it was just a beautiful harmony. And then
great. It was
this is my first time actually sitting down to talk to you, so this is pretty
no,
cool.
yeah, absolutely.
You know,
it was a great. Shantae Moore is one of the most amazing singers with the broadest range. I used to like. I think I morphed into more of a behind the scenes person when we were together, though, and I liked seeing her do her thing. Who doesn't want to see a beautiful lady come out and her gowns or whatever she's wearing, or sexy and sing? I mean, it was very appealing. I mean, and I'm her husband, so it was like, okay, but your creative side never dies in the process, though. I think that I just started becoming something a little different than who I really was. Yeah. And but we were still together when I did my solo album to follow that. But I felt like I kind of lost my voice in the process, though, and I had to rediscover who I was as an artist when I did the Project Timeless over at Verve. And that was part of the reasons why I was okay with doing covers, because I didn't feel like I could write anymore. This industry beats you down.
Yeah, and you got have peaks and valleys.
Absolutely,
you know,
you do.
and you have to be able to stay the course because
Yeah.
it can be. There's some lows.
Very low lows, yeah.
You know, very low lows. What
Yeah.
are some of the things that, you know, I mean, around the holidays, you're on tour right now.
Yeah.
Is your son with you?
He came out for the first week.
Okay.
And his mom does Christmas really big. She's going to do the Christmas tree and all the gifts and all that kind of stuff. As a result, I just don't. So
Yeah.
I really don't celebrate Christmas.
Okay.
For that reason. What I do is I allow him to have that experience with her so that there's never anything like we're competing. Oh, and now I'm going to my dad's house because
Yeah.
he gonna have a bigger tree or a
Right.
smaller tree or whatever he would have to compare. It was just like, no, go to your mom's, have that experience. And then what I do is I take him on a trip afterwards. We usually go back to the East Coast, and now he's 13, so it's even easier. Really, it's that idea, and I know that was a God idea too. It just allows us to flow, where he's never in an awkward position. There's never anything to compare. There's one
feel like he has to
view of
choose.
things. Or feel like he has to choose. It's like, nope, do that with your mom, and then come to me after. And
Okay. Yeah, because you're really, really active, you know, despite being on the road a lot or.
yeah,
you know,
I
touring.
administrate all of his life,
Yeah.
all of his business. I take care of everything from top to bottom. But I always did. But what was great was when we were together, you just have that support. You have somebody to have some other fun and do some other things with them. But I've always been the administrator for everything. That's just a gift. It's not that I'm better or anybody's worse. It's it's always a gift that I've had from the beginning.
Any gifts that you're getting from a loved one or a special loved one this holiday season?
Nope, it's all about the boy during
It's
the
all
holidays. So
about
it's
the
he
son.
wants a new cell phone. Yeah, I mean 13 teenagers, right?
He's the same around the same age as my little sister. I have a
Yeah.
12-year-old little sister.
Oh, wow.
And she wants Beats by Dre.
Right, that kind of stuff.
And an iPad Air. I'm like, what are you gonna?
They're the
what are you-
expensive gifts.
Yes, just broke my mom's wallet, you know. But you know, I mean, she's a good kid. She does
Yeah.
good in school, so
Isn't that something? So it's almost like, how can I deny?
Yeah,
you know
that's-
this. So
my
yeah.
mom always feels. But you're on tour right now with Dave Koz, which I love. Dave Koz. I've never
amazing.
met him. Have you done any work with him, like as far
Oh, yeah.
because I know he does like the instrumental side. So I could have sworn I've heard your voice on a couple of his.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We recorded last year, and then we not last year before last. We recorded together, and we went on a summer tour. And we just do the American Songbook or pop standards. Like we did Your Love Is Lifting Me Higher with Rick Braun. And then the three of us went on tour. It was fantastic. And I told him, I said, Dave, I really, really want to go on this Christmas thing because I've heard so much about it, and the production level is higher than some of the stuff during the summer, because a lot of times in the summer you're on festivals.
Right.
So you just come out, you do your set, and you roll. But when it's your tour, you get the lights and the sound and the drama and all. So I was like, I want to do that. And he was like, okay, you want to do the Christmas tour? So when's your Christmas album coming? I was like, Christmas album. I'm thinking, I thought you were just gonna give me some standards, and I would just sing the Christmas songs. They're just Christmas
Kenny,
songs.
you have to work.
Yeah. So he was the catalyst,
Okay.
getting me into the studio to do a Christmas album,
Which is out now.
Which is out now, a Kenny Lattimore Christmas, and the rest has just been a lovely mixture and melting together of styles and relationship, great friendship. Like being on the road with Jonathan Butler and Valerie Simpson and Dave together is a dream come true. It really is. And Jonathan goes in and takes us onto the throne of grace with Oh Holy Night.
Yeah.
You know, he's gonna take a Christmas song, but that's what it really is
make it
about.
about a
and make it
gospel.
and make it a gospel lyric. And or whatever he does, sometimes he'll just morph it into something that's praise and worship, and I'm like, okay,
I can feel that.
I can feel that, and
Yeah.
I can support it. Excuse me, I can support it and follow it up. So we've been having fun with this tour because we get a chance to do the gospel, we get a chance to do jazz, we get a chance to do the Motown greats from Valerie Simpson, we get to do pop, folk, just any and all forms of music that we have inside of us, we can put into a Christmas package, and it's accepted on a different level if it's put together right, which this tour is put together right.
Now, are you only doing Christmas tunes, or can you do?
Oh
some
no,
of
it's
your,
everything. It's
you
all
could
of those things that I mentioned.
So you get to do like Never Too Busy and all.
Well,
of
no,
that.
we don't. I don't do Never Too Busy. I do For You.
For You.
From the old albums, I only do For You, and the rest of it I do Christmas, and then I do some standards. I also do the Leonard Cohen Hallelujah, which I had never done before, but it has gone over very well.
Okay, so the next stop is.
Next stop, we are headed to El Paso, Texas, I think.
Oh,
Texas,
nice.
and then
Hopefully it's
Arizona.
warm there.
And, we're getting ready to go into the warmer climates again.
Okay, well, people need to get their tickets if they haven't.
Yeah,
in
if
those
you haven't
cities.
gotten them, this is Arizona and through California. We're going to pretty much do the entire state of California, so that should be nice. And maybe I'll get a chance to go home just for a minute in between. But if not, it really is like you're creating home on the road. I mean, we're doing 24 shows in 28 days.
Wow.
That's how intense it is.
Wow. So we need to let you get your rest up, because what time is the show tonight?
The show tonight is at 8.
Okay.
So I'm going to go over to sound check in a bit, do dinner, and we did Thanksgiving dinner together, and I had my son for that. I mean, the way that this tour was set up, it was just beautifully done to bring a camaraderie and a respect, even before we headed out on the road for the first time. So I know that everybody, when those 24 shows are over, we're going to be like, what are we going to do now?
I know, because it's so like busy, and then you're going to be sitting in the house like, I need something to do.
Right. And it'll be other stuff to do, but I don't think it's going to quite compare to what this experience has been. It's been really amazing.
It sounds amazing. And I'm so glad you were able to talk to me today.
Thank you.
Hopefully
Absolutely.
we'll have more chats in the future, because you seem like a really just an abundance of information and knowledge.
Oh, yeah, and that's part of what I believe my service, my ministry is mentoring. I have a foundation as well, so that I try to give mentoring and using the arts and education to enhance the lives of kids. But really, it enhances the lives of anyone. If you don't know something and somebody comes and they just share something to enlighten you, it's a blessing.
I think arts are really important. It's been a huge effect on my life.
Absolutely.
I feel like if I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today if it wasn't for that impact during school and
Absolutely.
growing up. It's kind of sad that they've taken it out of schools and don't really focus on it that much.
So that's why I started the foundation, so that there would be some supplemental funding and programs that we can introduce. We can be a resource, even if it's not me, because I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. There are some wonderful resources out there, but a lot of people may not know about them.
Right.
So what I really want to do is make sure that we not only give our resources in terms of information, but we also raise money and have finances, so maybe we can scholarship some kids that wouldn't normally get to participate in some of those programs.
I think that's a really great idea.
Yeah. Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas
Happy
to you
holidays.
too. Thank you.
And thank you again so much for talking to me.
Appreciate it.